As a student of history, I'm full aware of the truth that our ancestors fought to free themselves. Whether the Haiti Revolution, the Mau Mau, the Gullah Warriors, Gaspar Yanga, Harriet Tubman, and the list goes on. But the fact is, in 2018, black people are choosing to still be slaves. You choose to be excited about moving into a white neighborhood instead of creating black towns. You choose to be excited about working for white corporations instead of building our own. You choose to be excited about being educated by the Caucasian education system and then derogatorily calling somebody with an Afrocentric knowledge of Hotep. You choose to put your destiny in the hands of this government as opposed to being black nationalists. Now, our ancestors did not choose to be slaves. They chose to fight. Today, we are choosing to be slaves because racism is dependent on the oppressed needing the oppressor. And the fact is, black people in 2018 don't even think that we can stand on our own, too. So Kanye was wrong about our ancestors, but he was right about us today.
I don't know, man. That was some perspective for your ass right there. That was definitely perspective. Like, I can't say that I agree with everything the homie was saying, but I definitely understand the perspective, and I like to see people use, I hate to say free thought, because to me it starts thinking like what Kanye was saying. Oh, excuse me, I'm being disrespectful.
Not
I
at
got
all,
an intelligent
not at all.
man in the room that
Not at
people
all.
want to hear from.
Not at all.
What's up, Mr. Talib Kweli?
What's up, Sakai?
Yo, don't nobody call me that no more.
Tahoe. That's it. That's what it is, right, Tahoe?
Yeah, it's Tahoe,
Okay.
man. I mean, it's Sakai. We've known each other
Right.
since we was kids.
Since I was Talib.
Talib. Yeah, that's crazy because you were. All right, so let's start from the beginning.
Right. Well, who is that you was just playing that clip from?
This is I don't know his name.
That's just something that
caught
went
it off the
viral.
internet. Yeah, I caught it off the internet, and let me see here. It's some, yeah, I'll let you know
Okay,
before we end this show. But our relationship goes back decades.
Yes.
You and I went to St. Junior High School together.
Yes.
Used to sleep at each other's cribs. You
Yes.
know, I know your family. And somehow we separated, going to junior high schools or whatever. Wait, going to high school, we separated, right?
What high school did you go to?
Bronx Science.
Right, and I went to Brooklyn Tech.
Why would you do that? You didn't pass the test?
I did not pass the test. I think
That's
I got like a
crazy.
432 to get in Bronx Science. You needed like a 500 or something
I
like
think
that.
I got like a 600.
Yeah, man,
I'm
you're a
not
smart
bragging.
dude, man.
I'm not bragging. But it's funny because I wound up. It's funny that years later I hear about this artist Talib Kweli.
Mm-hmm.
I never drew the lines. Because
Okay.
it's Talib Kweli, and I knew Talib,
Right.
you know, that Talib
Right.
from junior high school.
Right.
And one day, 1, 2, 3, you Mo Def and Kweli comes on the television, and I'm looking, and I damn near dropped my glass. Because I remember when we were in junior high school, we were always creative. We went to a creative junior high school summit. As a matter of fact, Miss Holmes passed away. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she passed away.
Rest in peace,
very
Miss Holmes.
Yeah, I was her pet.
I was not. I had a lot of battles with that woman, but battles that made me into the man I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of our teachers do shape us.
Yeah, she shaped me. She's part of my history, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I found out this year that she passed away. So
Condolences
RIP
to her
Miss
family.
Holmes. But I remember sitting in the after school. We used to stay after school downtown on 113, which was probably a fucking danger zone back then. We had Decepticons and shit like that. That we had to,
it's not the Fort Greene of nowadays.
it's changed.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed. What do you think about gentrification?
You know, it's a cycle. You know, neighborhoods change. You live long enough, you see white people move in, black people move out. You know, it keeps going around. Mm-hmm. Right now, we in a cycle where those areas, the Fort Greenes, the Bushwicks, the even places like Brownsville, East New York, to this,
they
where
out
we,
there.
you know what I'm saying? Like you see the rents going up. You see the people who built and shaped the neighborhood sometimes can't no longer afford to live there. But the white people gonna get tired of it at some point, and they're gonna move further someplace, and then it'll go back. You know what I'm saying? So
You think so?
yeah, I think that'll happen. What happens is a lot of people get displaced when it happens.
Right.
But I just think that's just the natural ebb and flow of this country. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I honestly, people call it gentrification, and I've always called it colonization.
Yeah.
I believe they send out their scouts. They find a home, they find a place where they know they can take over. They see the weakness in the communities. They've done this since the beginning of time. And I'm not anti-white. You know, I'm not, if people can tell me, you say cool things all the time, I'm not. But I do notice a pattern. And I believe that it's colonization. They came, they saw the weakness, and they took the communities.
Yeah, it's absolutely a polite form of colonization.
Right.
You know, it's way more polite than you show up with guns and germs and you plant your flag.
Right.
You know, they don't have to do that anymore. But you know, when you have a lot more resources, you don't have to resort to as savage of methods to get what you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So back in the days, they were building this country. They had to just be completely savage. Now they could backdoor it, and they could use it through policy and stuff like that. What you said is absolutely correct. It's not something that I think white people who are doing that are intentionally doing. But when you talk about oppression, it's not about the intention, it's about the result.
Exactly.
So whether or not you mean to displace a whole community, whether or not you mean to be a colonizer, the result is that's what's happening. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's absolutely what it is.
We're going into oppression, and this week has been hurtful. It's been very hurtful for me, and I've spoken about it a lot. I'm pretty sure my listeners are like, yo, come on, you're going to do this again. But a lot has happened in the last week.
Yeah, man. When was your last show?
My last show was this Tuesday, and before that, the only thing that had happened was the MAGA hat.
Right.
So he had, worn the MAGA hat. We're talking about Kanye West again. If you don't like it, fuck you. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I gotta pay attention to this because it means a lot to me, and it does mean a lot to our culture. You gotta understand the effects. What do you think? Matter of fact, let me ask you. They're here to hear from you. What do you think about what Kanye's doing?
Well, my take on it is unique, in that not only do I consider Kanye a personal friend, but he's somebody who he has mentioned on record more than once the influence that I've had on him as an artist.
Exactly.
You know, and I've mentioned more than once the influence he's had on me as an artist. So my connection and my responsibility, I think, is a slightly different from a consumer or someone who doesn't know him personally. Now, because we hip hop is a culture, right? So to participate in it, you have to be a part of the culture. We embrace our hip hop artists the same way we embrace family members.
Exactly.
So it's a different type of thing than just a painting on the wall that you just appreciate the art. The reason why Kanye West is so loved, it's not just because he's a dope rapper or because he makes dope beats, but because of his commentary on the culture and his contributions to it.
Exactly.
Not just on wax, but even when him saying George Bush don't care about black people and things that he's done, like, for the LGBT community. He one of the first rappers to say, I don't have a problem with gayness. That was huge. He was the first. Him saying, I don't have to be Rockefeller versus Raucous. I could be both. I could be underground. I could work with Mos Def and Quality. I could work with Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's very, very important. And because of his importance, he's earned our attention. He's earned it. So I don't think you should at all feel like, I think your sentiment is right. If you don't care about it, fuck you, because it's absolutely important for us to talk about him and the way that he's able to change the culture with one tweet, or just center the culture around him with one tweet. Not just hip hop culture, but the mainstream pop culture with one or two tweets, to whereas Donald Trump is now using him and weaponizing his tweets and weaponizing the loving things he said about Trump against people of color. Exactly. I seen last week Donald Trump was in a room full of people, his constituents, and he said, do we have any Hispanics in the room? And the crowd booed, because it's an anti-immigration crowd. Right. And Trump's response was, that's okay, Kanye gets it. You know what I'm saying? Things like that is problematic. The thing we was talking about before we turned on these mics, when I guess this morning Trump was speaking in front of the NRA and invoked Kanye's name again to say that Kanye is proof that the black community is turning around. As a friend of Kanye's, I don't think he quite understands the weight that his words carry or that his tweets carry, because he's fighting to be Kanye West. He's fighting for that freedom. That's what he's talking about. Let me feel how I want to feel. Let me think what I want to think. I can't be constrained. I can't be, you know what I'm saying? And when you're fighting for the freedom to just be you, you're not fighting for the community. You're removed from the community. He's living in Calabasas. He's not in touch with what's going on in the ground. That's a very isolated community out there. And Dave Chappelle, I've been hanging with him all week. He has a great routine where he compares Kanye to Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was a boxer in the 20s and 30s who wanted to be heavyweight champion. So he was like, I'm not fighting black fighters. I only fight white fighters. And we go 20, 30 rounds.
Like they did something with him in Harlem Nights, right?
Yeah.
He was the boxer in Harlem Nights. So he was supposed to be that boxer that was in Harlem Nights was supposed to be Jack Johnson. I believe.
I think so. Is it the Harlem Nights? It's Harlem Nights or it was either Jack Johnson or Joe Louis in that movie. I'm not sure.
I think it was Jack Johnson.
But Jack Johnson's interesting because he was fucking white women. He was beating up white dudes for a living in an era where they was lynching black people. And he didn't give a fuck. And his whole thing was, I have the same thing Kanye's saying, I have the freedom to be who I want to be. And then what Dave makes a point of saying is Jack Johnson beat the heavyweight champion, a white dude named Jim Jeffries, on July 4th. On July 5th, they went out, white people all over the country, killed hundreds of black people, murdered them, lynched them, because they didn't want niggas to get out of their place just because we had a black heavyweight champion. And that's the danger of what Kanye is doing, is that we all, because we love him, we love to see him fight to be Kanye, but you can't do it at the expense of your own people. You know what I'm saying? So when you post your conversation with John Legend, right, and the country gets to see that John Legend was disagreeing with you, you might love John Legend, but then the NRA is gonna go troll John Legend. You know what I'm saying? And the NRA is a problematic organization.
Exactly.
You know, I think that he is absolutely brilliant and he's a genius and he's good at what he does, but the same expertise he puts into his music and to learning about fashion, he has not put that expertise in, or those time and those hours into learning about the culture. And that's what we're running into now.
Does he have to? It's social responsibility. See, and I have my own views on it, but is social responsibility truly a responsibility for celebrities, or is it something that we put on them to do?
I think Kanye is a great example because it's only if you know better. You can't blame a baby for what they don't know. So, you know, with all due respect to his wife and his family, I don't expect the Kardashians to know.
Right.
I don't expect them to stand up for the culture. Kanye West, you come from Donda West. You come from Lupe Fiasco and Common, and I got a magazine cover with you, me, Dead Prez, and Common and Dave Chappelle on it. Like you've credited Mos Def and certain other people with bringing you into this business and showing you things. So you should know better. And that's the issue with Kanye. That's where the disappointment and the hurt comes from. Right. It's not like he's, you know, Young Thug was out there a couple years ago. The people got mad at him at the way he talked to these women at the counter when he was talking about they have nappy hair or some shit. Whatever, people got mad at him, and he apologized, rightly so. But I wouldn't expect somebody who debuted as Young Thug to know the culture. Right. Kanye was supposed to know better with All Falls Down and with New Slaves and I Am a God and the things him and Jay was saying on Watch the Throne were very like black liberation theology and revolutionary things. Right. Kanye understands how he's King Kong to the white man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I mean, if you think about George Bush doesn't care about black people, what else was the reason, unless you could identify with what we were going through?
That's absolutely right.
Like, to me, I'm just confused as to at what point you separated from where you were at that point, growing up in Chicago, everything, like you said, all of these leading moments that he's had, to the point where he said, you know what, I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about my responsibility for the community anymore. I just want to be me, and I just want to love. And you lead with one of the most polarizing, hateful people in the world right now, Donald Trump. And honestly, you might say that there are other people, but because when I say polarizing, he's out in the front. Yeah. He's the David Dukes now in his own disguise. Yeah. And so when you align yourself with that, that's saying something. Yeah. They can use that weapon, which is what Donald Trump is doing, against us. Yeah. They're going to say, why can't the other black people be like this?
That's right.
He understands us. He doesn't blame us.
That's what they're saying verbatim. And now that he's being embraced or like quasi-embraced, because they don't really embrace him like that. They don't really love him.
Right. They're using him.
They're using him, but he's now sort of like with the slavery was a choice and the black on black crime thing, he's repeating white supremacist talking points. Right. And it's because he don't know no better. The real Kanye is the dude, when you see the man Van Lathan stand up, man. And God bless Van Lathan for being in that room.
Salute to that man.
Because I never heard of him before, but he represented what a lot of us was thinking. When Van was so eloquently and so quickly able to debunk the things that Kanye was saying and to let Kanye know all in one speech. You're a genius, but what you're saying is hurtful. Yeah. Kanye immediately was like, I didn't mean to hurt you. That's the real Kanye. Right. You know what I'm saying? When Kanye got on Twitter, and we only seen glimpses of the real Kanye. Whoever this other guy is, I don't know. Right. When Kanye got on Twitter and said, I can't call myself a conservative because I haven't done the research. That's the real Kanye. Just say that.
Is it?
I think so.
Or is it just him realizing that he may have made a mistake? And even so, me not knowing if he's realizing, because he never said that. He said, he went around it saying, well, I didn't really mean slavery wasn't this, but, you know, I wasn't trying to say that. I was trying to say this. But he didn't ever say, though, like, yo, let me take that back.
Well, he's developed a life where he hasn't had to.
There's no accountability.
There's no accountability. I can't say there's no accountability because I've been around him enough to know that there are people in his inner circle who don't agree with him. There are people right now in his inner circle who are working to get him to understand the problem. Mm-hmm. But with all due respect to those people, a lot of those people depend on him for their living. Right. So it's hard for them to be in a position to be, you know, somebody like me. I don't depend on Kanye for a living, so I'm in a better position to be able to be critical to him than certain people in his life. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I last week during my show went and grabbed my Yeezys and gave them away. One of the first pair that came out, it cost me $850. Mm-hmm. I said, I can't wear these. There's no way I can walk around and have these on my feet, say, because people are going to identify with that. They're going to, when they see that, they're going to say Yeezy. Right. They're going to say Kanye. They're going to say, you know, he's still, and to me, that's gone. At least for now, I have to make that stance, and I think I have that responsibility that I have to have towards my children and to people that I care about, my community, black men, black women, that I'm just not going to stay quiet when somebody's out there making this stance. As far as you're concerned, what do we as a community do as to where Kanye is taking us? Like, what do we do?
Well, see, again, approaching it as a friend thing, I have an obligation, if I'm going to call somebody my friend, to approach them with a level of love and compassion and concern that I cannot ask anyone else to do. I can't ask someone who's never met Kanye West to love him the way I love him. And boycott is the right of the people. As a matter of fact, it's not just the right of people, it's the responsibility of the people. The people have a duty to support what they want and to not support things that don't support them. So if the community calls for a boycott of Kanye, that's not something that I can stand in the way of. That's just the community holding them accountable.
Do you think that it's unfair for the community to do that?
Not at all, because it's about supply and demand. And Kanye being a person who is a competitor and being a person who understands, like, part of it, I think the mistake he's making is him thinking that he's endearing himself to people who are trapped. He's freeing people from their shackles of being able to say what they want. You should be able to wear a MAGA hat. You should be able to say, I love Trump. These are the people that he's trying to represent. And I think he's betting on the fact that those people are going to support him. They not. No. I don't think they are. You know what I'm saying? I think he's sort of turning his back away from the people that helped him to get where he is. And that's a different argument too, because as a performer, you don't want to give the crowd and the mob too much credit, because nobody does it on their own. But you know, I've never done it for the fans. Like the little bit of fans I got, the little bit of celebrity I got.
Ain't no little bit.
Well, it's compared to Kanye, because I've been over his crib. And my shit ain't like that. You know what I'm saying? What I got is very seductive, and the fans will try to make you think we made you. If it wasn't for us and this and that, as for what I do, I have to be quick to let people know I don't do this for you. Right. I do this for me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe when I get on stage, I do it for you if I choose to be on the stage. But as far as me writing my rhymes and becoming Talib Kweli, when I first met you, you said you see me with the composition book. There wasn't no fans. Ain't no fan. Right. I was doing it for me. And you start to lose the fans when you do it for them. If you're doing it for yourself, that's when you keep the fans. Mm-hmm. So that's a point that I think Kanye West is trying to get to. But I think doing that, and while you're trying to also align it with the politics, and you admitted you didn't do your research, that's where the problem comes.
Okay. There was a lot to be said there. Let me think for a second. One thing I want to know. There are people who are saying, you coons, y'all always go harder against the black people than the white people that do it. You're quick to give up your Yeezys, but you'll wear Michael Jordan sneakers knowing that he owns gels, or you're quick to wear European styles knowing that they don't fuck with us.
Right.
So what do you say towards that? So people that say, yo, we going so hard against a black man,
right,
versus the others.
Well, one, I have quite a lot to say about that. One, that don't apply to me. It do to a certain degree, because we all enable white supremacy to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, right, I got some Nikes on my feet right now. The brother that you started the show with, that's the part that is accurate. He said a lot of hyperbolic things, you know what I'm saying? But the general point he was trying to get at was just that. And that's absolutely the case. There's levels to it. What he was talking about, where I critiqued that brother who he started the show with, when he says we do this willingly, like we go to the white colleges willingly and all that, there's nuance to that. Because what people are really trying to do is survive. And people don't know how to survive. And they look at, like, in order to, you know, bring my family out of whatever situation, I do what I got to do. So it's like, if I got to, you know, we invest into this system. We want to wear the clothes. We want to dress the part. Black women got to straighten their hair or else they're not going to get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, we look the part. We invest in the system, from paying taxes to watching the TV shows to, you know, participating on social network, to going on Facebook, you know, to everything we do. But there are levels, and it's only up to you what level you're going to invest to. And it depends on your people, depends on how you grew up, your family. I try not to enable white supremacy as much as I can, but I still wear Nikes. I still say nigga. I still listen to music that's debaucherous and might be, you know, pro-capitalist or misogynistic. There's songs that I like that are very hard on women. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I enable sexism to a degree. I think it's a matter of recognizing your own privileges and trying to grow in every moment. No one could grow overnight. And I think us being in America is very seductive to follow the trends. We have to do what's called unlearning. You know what I'm saying? And it's very tough. Yes. It's very tough. Most people are not even willing to admit that they're at that point. But I think that the society will sort of purge. That's what you see with the Me Too shit happening right now. Like, some people are catching it who didn't do nothing wrong. Right. Because the society's purging. It's like so many foul niggas got away with it for so long that now they swinging the sword and they cutting some people who may not even have been that. But that's just what happens in the purge. Right. You know what I'm saying?
When you say, I don't want people to get you confused, when you say some people are catching it that didn't even do anything, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, because, you know, I don't know who did what, but like when I look at something like Aziz Ansari,
yes,
you know, none of us were there, but the fact is that with somebody like him, it's coming from an anonymous source, so there's no credibility there, right? It was debuted on a gossip site, so there's no credibility there, and then there's like this thing of what is he responsible for? You know what I'm saying? Like, did he apologize in the moment? Did he apologize after? Like, with something like that, from my vantage point, I'm like, I can't lend credibility. Can I at least know your name? You know what I'm saying? Can we at least see if you're a real person before I believe this story? But then you have somebody else like a Louis C.K. who they you know, his girls say he masturbated in front of them and then he apologized and this and that. As much as I want to believe that it wasn't that bad, Louis comes out and says, yeah, I did all that. My bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so nuanced. But to so that I don't get too focused on mansplaining and just focus on the dudes. Right. What I mean is, there are women whose stories will never be told. There are women who went through that, but they didn't go through that with a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's like, or let me give you a better example. With these college campuses, you have a culture, or we have rape culture, like dudes at frat raping women and this and that. And then you have just some instances that are awkward. The dude was just awkward. He don't got no game, he don't know how to fuck or whatever, and this and that. And then he's looked at as a rapist or a molester, and it may not be that case. But because women have been on the receiving end of the bullshit for so long, men have to accept some people gonna catch it that didn't deserve it. Like I'm in family court with my baby mama. I'm not like the rest of these niggas in family court. Trust me. But I'm treated like the rest of them.
Exactly.
And I gotta just eat that.
Exactly.
Because of the privilege of being a man. Men have got away with bullshit for so long. How can I be mad if the judge and everybody in the court looking at me suspect and I rap? You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's funny that we bringing this up, and I'm gonna go back to Kanye in a minute, but today there was a clip released where DJ Khaled, it is funny.
I seen him trending, but I didn't know why.
He said, listen, I don't eat my wife. I don't go down on my wife. And she's expected to give me head, and I'm just a man.
Is that what he said?
As a man, there's certain levels to being a man, and there's like, oh, we don't have to do that, and it's different from men, and you're supposed to. See, this is the thing, is when you start talking like that. Yeah, congratulations. Because when you start talking like that, that's, for one, there is a level of how we were raised.
That's old school.
It's so old school.
That's old school.
That's literally that we were raised to be a certain type of man.
Yeah, that's old school.
Super masculine man. And women are at this point right now breaking, like they are ripping us to shreds for our toxic behavior.
Yeah, that's. I was raised the same way. I remember being a teenager, and thinking like, ugh. Until I became a man and put away childish things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, I guess some people, and I love Khaled, he's always been a gentleman to me.
Right.
He's always shown me love and been very, very supportive of me as an artist. That's just an old school thing. He's thinking in an old school way, and the culture has moved a little bit beyond that.
I actually wonder if you're not smart enough to wake up for your daughters or your wife or just the culture in itself. Was it a smart move for DJ Khaled professionally to make that statement? No,
what even led him to saying that? To be talking about the intimacies with...
I don't know.
That's a weird thing for him to even broach.
He's on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne and Angela. It came up somehow. All I saw was the clips. I was on the flight this morning coming out here to see you.
Yeah, that's ignorance. That's him not knowing any better. Like look, we all have preferences. The nigga could just prefer to not eat pussy. There's nothing wrong with that preference. But when you start vocalizing it and publicly saying it, and I'm speaking out of ignorance as well because I didn't see the clip. But based on what you just said, if he's saying it's because of traditional gender roles, that's where it becomes problematic.
Right. Speaking out. Let's bring it back a little bit because I know. Before you became Talib Kweli, you were managing a bookstore. You were working at a bookstore.
Yeah.
What was the name of the bookstore?
Inkiru Books.
Inkiru Books.
Yeah, we got it online right now. Inkiru Books at QualiClub.com, which is my website. Okay. You can still buy all the books that we had in there.
What kind of books is that? What kind of bookstore was it?
It's multicultural, African education centered, African American education centered, things that are underrepresented in the mainstream press and media.
Well, the reason why I brought that up is because Kanye's statement, slavery. It seems like a choice. After 400 years, it seems like a choice. And I said to myself, I gotta speak to Kweli.
Right.
I said because I know you can give me some light as to why that statement may be wrong. Why? Because I've heard several renditions of that from several people.
He tried to walk it back a little bit too, right? He tried to explain it on his tweets a little bit by saying he was talking about the idea of mental slavery and this and that.
Well, no, he said what he said, that you can't walk back what you say when you say it. 400 years of slavery.
Right. Well,
that seems like a choice.
That's why I said he tried to walk it back. I don't think he did.
Right.
He didn't do a good job of walking it back at all, but I think he attempted to clarify, but the attempt, I think, failed just as much as the original statement.
I want you to explain to me, because I have my own, and I don't read much. I should probably read a lot more. And I realized I came out here with a book to read on a plane. I fell asleep. Fuck it, whatever. But I want you to explain to me and to the people listening to this show why slavery was not a choice. In your opinion, if it was, explain why. And if it wasn't, please explain why.
Well, the idea of race was invented to justify the Atlantic slave trade. Slavery has existed since the beginning of time. Human beings have always taken advantage of other human beings, and always oppressed other human beings. And sometimes it was over class, and sometimes it was tribal wars, and sometimes it was religious, but it never was over the issue of race until the Atlantic slave trade. And they needed to justify why they were taking these people. These people are savages. They're subhuman. They're black. That means that they have less value than us as white Europeans. When that concept comes to a place, you know, you got Europeans coming, building ships and having steel and building weapons that are just insane with guns, coming from cold, barren land to Europe, go to lush places in Africa and Central America and South America, planting their flag like, this is our shit. The concept of land ownership, the concept of people ownership was foreign to a lot of these native populations. So they were just doing business, and it was about war, and it's about even the way that slavery was in Africa back in the days. It wasn't as brutal as shadow slavery that we went through as black people coming to America. You know, and that doesn't excuse slavery. That's just saying these are the differences in the way people saw things. It's sort of like how the Native Americans stole land how the Europeans stole land from the Native Americans. When you hear the story, we grew up, they told us that they sold Manhattan for what, 35 beans or whatever. It's because the Native Americans didn't really understand what they were saying. Right. They're thinking we just exchanging and sharing. And the European ideal of imperialism and colonization and conquest was not something that the Native Americans, the Africans at that time had caught on to. They weren't looking at the world. Their worldview was different. So a lot of the Africans back then didn't even realize what was happening until they got on that ship. You know what I'm saying? And so, no, it was definitely not a choice. When you say it's a choice, what you're doing is you're removing the responsibility from the oppressor. And what the oppressor wants you to do is to blame the oppressed for their own oppression. You know, that's the whole thing. Something's wrong with you. Kanye has fallen into that trap. Slavery it can't be a choice. It's not a choice at all. There are people who made the choice to try to get out of that, and their feet was cut off, and their tongues was cut off, and they was drawn and quartered. They was pulled apart from horses. They was lynched. They was in
front of the people.
In front of the people. You know, they weren't allowed their language. They weren't, and even if they were allowed their language, you're dealing with Africans from all over the continent who couldn't even communicate. You know, because they all speak in different languages. Right. They weren't allowed their religion. They weren't allowed to have families. You have a baby, immediately the father is sold someplace else, so he has no connection with the family. There are things that were done on purpose, psychologically and physically, to beat black people into submission. And when we were growing up, there was an Afrocentric resurgence in hip-hop. So we were talking a lot about mental slavery and the chain and breaking out the shackles of mental slavery. It sounds cliche now, it sounds real hotep, like the dude said, but it's very fucking real, you know. And from there, you got Jim Crow, and you have over-policing, and you have redlining, and you have Black Wall Street where they burn the towns down. You have all these things that are set up, you know, and then you got the society where blackness is looked at as a sin or laziness in the mainstream media. All these things are set up to convince black people that is somehow our fault. Why didn't you just do this? Why didn't you just do this? If I was in this situation, I would have did this. The same way that I can't tell Kanye West how to operate as a celebrity. The same way I can't tell him what's it like to make a hot beat. He can't say what a slave should have did 400 years ago. Right. And what you're doing is you're telling the racist white man lies for him when you say something like that.
When Kanye West says slavery was a choice, I think that he's completely disconnected from his history. You got to think about it. He said 400 years of it. It seems like a choice. You were there for 400. First of all, people weren't even living past 30, 40, 50 years old back then. Like, if you was, you were considered an elder, like a real elder. Not like now, we got 80, 90, 5-year-olds or whatever. People was getting killed left and right. On the ships, there were millions of people that died on the ships over there. They were left there. The dead that some, like Killmonger said in the seas, they jumped over the... A lot of the people died right in them ships and was left there so that you saw you're dead. You saw that.
It's one piece.
Were born into good.
It's one piece. He's being radicalized by the wrong people. Like you said earlier, we was talking off the mic. He's got the wrong people around him. He started with "I love Trump." No, he started with "I like the way Candace Owens thinks."
Yes.
Candace Owens is someone who attacks me on Twitter. It's the first time I ever heard of her. You know, as soon as I heard that I hit Ye, like, you know, she attacks your friends, right? Yeah. And that's what even got us talking about it. Right. He went from that to "I love Trump" to, you know, Lincoln was a Republican, to slavery was a choice, to black on black crime. These are white supremacist talking points. There is an agenda there, and he's not. We're used to seeing Kanye being a leader, but he's being a follower in this instance, and that's what the most disappointing thing about it is.
Right.
Is that he's following the talking points. There's no intellectualism. It's anti-intellectual. Freedom of thought, yeah, but thoughts have consequences.
Right.
We all have freedom of thought, not just you.
Right.
You just have a bigger platform.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the responsibility of that platform. So, okay, we're talking about freedom of thought. He's talking about free love. What is it? Was it free love? What is the?
Well, love is the answer. You know, you remember when Common, they was calling Common a coon?
Yeah.
Because he went on the Daily Show and they asked him about some protests, and he was like, "I just think we should treat our enemy with love." That's a very Judeo-Christian way of thinking. Martin Luther King was on that. Gandhi was on that. Gandhi was also racist shit too, but Gandhi was on that, and that's correct. The sentiment is correct. The idea that we are doing this for love, that's absolutely correct. Even with the Panthers and the NOI, and when you think about the most revolutionary militant black motherfuckers, it's called revolutionary love. About the love, you should love your enemy. I'm someone who I believe hate is a wasted emotion. I don't know. I try my best not to deal with hate at all. But love is an action. Justice is what love looks like in public. That's what Cornel West said. So you can't say, I'm about the love, but then you uplifted Trump, who's about the Muslim ban and about the wall, building the wall. That ain't love. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the contradiction comes in. Right. The idea that we should all move towards love and that we should be doing it for love, that's the right attitude. But it's not the right attitude when you're using it as an excuse to excuse racism. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing loving about ignoring a problem.
The thing is, to me, and I'm glad you brought up the points you just made. I think, what is it? Free thought? What is it?
It's diversity of thought.
Right.
It's free thought.
We should be allowed to have those. We should be allowed to not be trapped and constrained by what society wants us to have. Right?
That's correct.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I think that nowadays, with all of these different plights of this and plights of that, and what's offensive and what's oppressive, everybody is kind of being shuttled into one way of thinking. You got to stay right here. If you think like this, or if you act like this, like you're a villain, and we're gonna get you out of here, and we're gonna, ruin your life. And Twitter is like that. And social media is like that. You can't think or say anything different from the masses because everybody's gonna come down on you.
Right.
You are a social media warrior. I follow you, bro.
Only on Twitter, not on other ones, but
bro,
yeah.
Holy shit. You have never seen an argument that you ain't like. I promise you. When you look and you follow Real Talib Kweli on, it's Real Talib Kweli.
It's Talib Kweli.
Talib Kweli on Twitter, you notice that he will engage.
Yeah.
Candace Owens comes at you, you will engage.
Right.
Any of her followers come at you, you will engage.
Right.
And the engagements are 7-syllable words, history, shit that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They start talking about marginalizing. I'm just like, I don't even know what the hell that means. Why do you take these things so seriously? The points that you're trying to make on social media, you're talking to idiots or fucking
right. Sometimes they might not even be real people.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you take them so seriously?
Well, I take the idea seriously. In 2018, we're using Uber and Google Play and Amazon Prime and Grubhub and all these things. Most of our interaction with other human beings is on social media. We cannot afford in 2018 to say that injustice or bigotry or racism on the internet is not real. You know what I'm saying? The idea that somehow it only has value if someone's being racist in the flesh is an archaic idea, and we're losing because of that mind state. Trump and the alt-right and these motherfuckers, they get it. They know it's real, right. Which is why they're winning in a lot of ways. Right. It started with Gamergate. You know what I'm saying? Remember Gamergate? Gamergate was a situation where, if you play video games, I don't play video games, right? But people who play video games, from what I understand, when you're talking and chatting with people, it gets very racist. Yeah, it gets very misogynistic, and because it's a lot of isolated racist white people from racist families. Their only interaction with other diverse cultures is through the video game thing, and that became a thing. Milo and Ben Shapiro and Breitbart.com. This alt-right sort of debate me, free speech thing comes out of Gamergate. And they all call themselves warriors for free speech. When you hear Ben Shapiro or Milo or Alex Jones or, you know, any of these people on the internet, they're always talking about my free speech, my diversity of thought. I have a right to say and feel what I want to say. And that's where that's kind of where Kanye's at with it. But the right to free speech and the right to have your free thoughts is very well protected in this country. We protect hate speech. If I see a Nazi walking down the street, goose-stepping, doing a symbol, saying fuck niggas, he can't be arrested for that. He could do that all night. If I punch him in the face, I go to jail, which means his free speech is very well protected. So why are they fighting for something that's very well protected? Because they're not actually fighting for free speech. They're fighting for the freedom of to think and say things without consequence. I want to be able to say what I want because they're spoiled and entitled. These young white supremacists, they were born with a privilege that Kanye now has inherited, has earned. Kanye wasn't born with the privilege to be free to say whatever. He's earned that privilege though. And some of his comments right now, he's flaunting that privilege in front of us. And these white supremacists, these neo-Nazis, these Trump fans, they're celebrating Kanye because they're like, he's normalizing and saying it's okay to be us. They don't want to face any consequences. That's what they're fighting for. They're fighting for the right to say whatever they want without consequence. And anti-fascist, like absolute free speech is not anti-fascism. And that's what people who align with fascists want you to believe. They want you to believe as long as everyone has the right to say whatever they want to say, then that's anti-fascism. No, it isn't. Because if you're using your right to say whatever it is you want to say, well, the Nazi has a voice too, then you're uplifting that Nazi. That's pro-fascism. I love the First Amendment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have critiques about growing up as an American. But one thing we got it right is the First Amendment. We got that part right. But the First Amendment means I have the right to not tolerate your dumb shit, to not tolerate things you want to say. And these people are so empowered and entitled, and when they see women rising up, when they see people of color rising up, when they see Muslims rising up, when they see Jews rising up, when they see gay people rising up, these straight white Christian males have been so used to being what's considered the normal that any deviation from that, they feel threatened by. So when people fight for equality or demand equality, they feel like something's going to be taken from them. Like it's like equality is a pie. And if I get my slice, you get less of your slice. That's not how it works. A lot of people don't understand. One, they think that I'm stressed out or not having fun. And I mean, you know me. You know I like to argue. I like to debate. When you see me on Twitter cursing a racist out, trust me, I'm having a great fucking time. Like, it shit makes my day. You know, I'm at the point in my life, I don't do many things that I don't enjoy. I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? So when I do it, it's because I enjoy doing it. But I'm not speaking to them. My goal is to not change the mind of a racist. It happens sometimes. There's been a few instances where people be like, I didn't think about it like that, change the way I'm thinking, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm not speaking to them, I'm speaking through them. And I'm using them as a lesson plan. I'm using them as an example to expose a mentality, a way of thought. If my goal was to change a racist, then no, that would be a very inefficient way to do it.
Right. I have a hard question to ask. And the reason I'm going to ask it is because I think it's important for people to kind of look at their actions and the way that they move. I love Kanye West. And we're going to get away from Kanye West in a second. But I want to know, is Kanye West behaving in what is typically or historically seen as a house nigga?
I think that based on his actions and his recent comments, that's an argument that someone can make quite handily. Kanye West has always been, the way he's acting, like his actual mannerisms, he's always been that way. I think he's operating from a very ignorant place. So I think he's going to have to deal with that critique. I'm not ready, because he's my friend, and because I know he's smart enough to know better, I'm still pulling for him to come around. I'm waiting on that letter or that apology or that song that's going to make us have some understanding for where he was at. I'm waiting for him to wake up out of whatever funk he's in, get off of whatever opioids he's taking. I think that's going to happen. I think that he's brilliant enough to turn it around. He's not doing it right now, But I think, you know, at some point I'm praying that it's going to happen. I'm not willing to give up on Kanye, but I can't be mad at somebody who is.
The final question that I'm going to ask, I want to bring it all the way home. Is what's happening with him still a result of slavery? What is slavery's effect on today? With the people, with the way that we behave towards each other, black woman or the internet black woman or the ultra feminist black woman or whatever, and black men that aren't there for when I mean the black woman going at black men, not appreciating where we are in life, right? Where we are in the family, and then the black man who walks away from his kids, beats his woman, just isn't the man or family man that he's supposed to be. What effect has slavery had on those two dynamics and the way that we relate to each other?
Yeah, some of that is just men and women, gender roles, and just that has nothing to do with race. Some of what you spoke about is going to happen in society just because we're a patriarchal society. But the reason why black men and women, just like every other thing that we deal with, we don't have the luxury to be doing that as much is because of the legacy of slavery. Because slavery on purpose, very much on purpose, decimated our families, decimated the idea of generational wealth. And so when there's breakdowns in the family structure in our community, the ramifications are way worse than in the white community. And that's something we have to pay attention to. The black woman, that's the reason they came up with womanist. Because back in the day, the feminist movement, when it first started with Gloria Steinem and all them, was leaving black women out. And so black women had to form their own movement called womenist, where they also have to deal with the issues. They have to take on the pathologies of black men while they're being feminists. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just very, very much not fair. I think.
So black women had their own thing called womenist?
Yeah, and you would have to ask an actual womanist to get the actual history. But the first time I remember hearing about it was working at Incura Books and reading books from Alice Walker and Bell Hooks, who were famous black feminists who sort of moved away from what is considered white feminism. There's absolutely black feminist women now, you know what I'm saying? And that I don't have an issue with. And to be real with you in this conversation, I consider myself a feminist, you know what I'm saying? I align with feminist thought, but I understand the idea of some of that white women feminism shit, it don't address our issues. So they came up with womanism, or what being a womanist, where it's like, I'm a feminist. I understand the equality for women thing, but for black women, there's an extra burden. There's an extra thing that we have to get over. And I think that's important. But these are academic things that the average working class person doesn't have time to sit around and parse terms and be like, I'm this, but really I'm this and this and that and this.
Issa Raes has recently been under fire for comments that she made in her book. She just wrote this book. And she said that Asian men and black women should actually get together and would be like the perfect relationship because of where Asian men, they're both like the least desired species of sexes. And like, what do you think about that?
I mean, off top, she's a comedy writer. It sounds like a joke. It sounds like she's being a little hyperbolic and being jokey with it, but I might need to hear it in full context before I was able to judge it.
I have the quote here, and
this is a quote straight from her book, right?
Straight from the book. I'm actually going to read the book, so if you take a second, just give me a second, and I'll read it. I believe. Well, this, from what I can see on the top of the page, it starts: educated black women are too high maintenance, high strung, and independent. They don't need men. There is a widening gap between the education of black women and men, which doesn't leave very many suitable suitors. Unfortunately, the higher one's degree as a black woman, the lower your chances are of getting married. Add to the con pile the stereotypes of being loud, complicated, and difficult. Black woman, your reputation sucks. Asian men are also overburdened with racial stereotypes that don't really work in their favor. Why wouldn't women want to marry and reproduce with men who are classified as intelligent hard workers? Maybe because Asian men are frequently emasculated in the media or presented as sexless props for comedic relief. Oh, if only they could absorb the burden of black male stereotypes, genitalia exaggerations included, maybe their demand would increase. Maybe that would make all the difference. Instead, the plight of Asian men is nearly the same as that of black women, except for the fact that their women tend to marry white or other far more often. In fact, Asian Americans have the highest rate of intermarriage. Asian men, your reputation sucks too. This is why I propose that black women and Asian men join forces in love, marriage, and procreation. Educated black women, what better intellectual match for you than an Asian man? And I'm not talking about Filipinos. They're like the blacks of Asians. I'm talking Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, etc. According to a 2010 census, Koreans are more inclined to marry black than any other Asian group. So black women after college, maybe it's a good idea to settle in Los Angeles or anywhere else where Korean town is a hot spot.
That sounds like a joke to me.
Sounds like a joke.
Sounds like a bit on stage. It sounds like a joke. And I hang out with a lot of comedians. It sounds like a joke. It probably could have been delivered better. But the reason why I say it sounds like a joke, because I laughed a couple of times when I, like, the way me hearing it, her voice as you read it, sounds like she's just telling a joke that's based on a little bit of fact. Here's the thing. She's talking about stereotypes, but she's also stereotyping. You're speaking about black women as a monolithic group. You're speaking about Asian women as a monolithic group. That works. You're allowed to do that in comedy. You're not allowed to do that if you're talking serious subjects. So you can't criticize stereotypes while also stereotyping. That makes you a hypocrite, which leads me to believe that she's too smart to know. She's smart enough to know that that's hypocritical. It's got to be a joke. It's just not that funny of a joke, but it's a joke.
Now we do know that I believe in her Awkward Black Girl series, her man was a white guy, and I'm not a leader. I cannot say that I am tied to the Issa Rae hate. You know, I don't really care what people
I didn't realize it was
do.
such a category.
There's a thing.
Okay.
There's a thing right now. And I'm just paying attention to what's going on social media. I don't know. I wonder, is it something that in this day and age where the heat is on, everybody's paying attention so closely, that she should have been more responsible to saying those comments? What do you think?
What I'm about to say is not scientific. It's based on my own perception and anecdotal experience that I've experienced. I don't have the data and facts to back up what I'm about to say. But what I've noticed, because I pay a lot of attention to comedy, is I'm starting to see this trend where you have this woke black female comic who's very searing and very endearing and cares about black people and wears natural hair and bucks the traditional idea of what Western beauty is, super intelligent, respected by the comedy world. They dating a white dude. They dating a dude outside their race. When I watch Two Dope Queens, there's a lot of jokes about the fact that these women have white men, like a lot. And not only do the hosts of the shows speak about their white boyfriends, but the black female comedians they bring on the show, again, it's not scientific, just from my own perception, what I've noticed, I'm like, it seems like a lot of these black female comics are dating white men. Now, I sell Issa Rae's book on my website, Diary of an Awkward Black Girl. I've never read the whole thing. I sell it because I like her story and I like the fact that she came from being a blogger to being able to make that book into, she got a TV show.
Right.
It's fucking impressive to me. Just based on her story, I got the book. You telling me that she talks about dealing with a white man in her book is news to me, but it lends itself to what I've noticed with intelligent black women comics. And I just feel like a lot of these sisters have grown up, not in the hood, but hood adjacent, in suburbs around the hood where their parents sort of like are upperly mobile and able to move out the hoods. And they're going to a lot of these comedic experience, a lot of this stuff that she talks about in other black women comics. They talk about what it's like to be a black woman in a white world. And because a lot of these women are in white worlds. They're surrounded by white worlds. I don't get that from like a Tiffany Haddish. I feel like with the Foster experience, she was in the hood. I don't get that from a Samore. All right, but some of these new black women comedians, I'm seeing that their life experience has led them to being in the room with white men more often than not. And it's because of their level of success and where they go in their careers, they're removed
The higher I go, domino.
Right, they're removed from black men. So they just start dating with whoever's around them.
Right.
I'm not, you know, I'm super pro-black. I'm not against interracial marriage.
Right.
I'm not against, love is love. Like, we shouldn't fall in love based on race.
Right.
That's, to me, is unfair and silly. But black people, we have to think about it more than the average person because our communities are decimated more than the average community.
Right.
So we have to think about the stigmas and what it's going to mean. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's unfair that these women have to think about it more than their counterparts. But I also think it's something to be said. You know, there's something to be examined there. There's something to be examined there for why some of these intelligent black women are just, it seems to be, they have, it's the same type of thing on the black male side where you have basketball players or athletes dating white women.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Or you have somebody like a Childish Gambinos who, if you listen to his music, if you listen to Donald Glover's music, he makes a lot of rhymes. He talks often about how, because he's like a black nerd, white girls like him. Listen to early Childish Gambino records. It's a lot about like, I'm only around white women. He was on a white show. I love Community. All my niggas from Brooklyn, none of them niggas watch Community.
Never.
They don't fuck with it.
I've never even heard of it.
They don't fuck with it. Nobody I know from Brooklyn watched this shit.
Right.
I've seen every episode twice. And Donald Glover left Community. It's a brilliant show, but it's a white show, culturally. He left Community 4 seasons in. And he left and he said, I can't do this show no more. I'm about to start this new show called Atlanta. And without me seeing Atlanta and knowing where his mind was at, I'm like, why would you do this? This show is great.
Right.
Now that I see Atlanta, I'm like, oh, he just wanted black girls to like him. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta's so black. It's so black. He had Migos in the show. Yeah. Like, the shit is so black when I watched it. And he's not, I don't think he's from Atlanta, but his character is an outsider in the show.
Right.
He's a black nerd in the show.
Right.
Dealing with the black Atlanta culture, right? That's what the show's about. When I watched the show, I said, he got sick of niggas not knowing who he was. So he wrote a show for niggas. You know what I'm saying? Be like, look, I'm one of y'all.
We're talking about the responsibility.
But let me just add on. To me, Atlanta is the black man's version of Insecure. Like what Issa Raes doing with that. I feel like Atlanta's the same type of thing. He's just giving the male perspective.
Okay,
You know
I can see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that, especially with the fact that him and his girl having their relationship issues on the show.
Yeah, and like I look at Issa Raes' show as like a black Sex in the City almost. Whereas like there's going to be a lot with shows that center around women because women have been socialized to depend on men, and your whole inner being, it depends on which nigga you fucking. There's a lot about the Insecure show. There's a lot about who she's fucking and her relationships, and Atlanta doesn't do that as much. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta more deals with the black male image.
Right.
But I feel like it's the black man's version of that shit.
Well, we don't face the same issues.
Right, exactly.
So, of course, our perspectives and the things that we focus on are going to be different, right? So Issa Raes is representing the black woman's issues and just dealing with men and how hard it is to find somebody that's going to really like be a suitable partner and the issues just black women have. And Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, is saying, how do I identify myself as a black man in this world? And I'm not a rapper. I'm not hard. I'm not tough. I'm not the average masculine man.
Right.
This is who I am, but I still have to live as a black man in this world.
Right.
We have different perspectives, right?
Right. That's what makes Atlanta so great, man. That show is brilliant.
The problem I have with what you said. I love Dave Chappelle. I also don't judge people by who they date. You find love when you find love.
Absolutely.
Why should it fall into these certain rules and things, right? But we say that black women should, there's something there. We have men like Dave Chappelle that date, right? His wife is Asian.
His wife is Asian, yeah.
We don't question that, right? There's a joke there. He makes a good joke about it. We forget about it.
Right.
Do we not hold black men to the same standard that we would hold black women when it comes to interracial
I think we do, because being around Dave, it's a thing. He gets his fair share of criticism from the black community for that. But men, of course, in a patriarchal society are not going to be judged as much. You know, and we see it playing out with this guy who played the Jabari in Black Panther.
Right.
He made a comment saying that black women have empowered him. Like he's like I've always felt like I'm the big black brute. That's how I've been cast. That's how I've been treated in society. Ever since the Black Panther movie, black women make me feel like I'm handsome. Black women make me feel like I'm that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then the sisters was like, a lot of the sisters were critical. Like, well, you're not dating a black woman. So are you allowed to say black women made you feel good, but then you don't date a black woman?
Oh.
That's a tough position to be in.
It's very hard right now. Like I said, everybody's under a microscope right now. That's interesting. That he doesn't date a black woman, but he still is showing his love and support for y'all, and y'all tear him down or y'all come at him because he found love somewhere else. Do you have a responsibility to black women, or do black women have a responsibility to black men, even if they choose to date somebody else?
I think it depends.
Does that go against your responsibility?
I think it depends on the work. Me dealing with grassroots activists, right? On the front lines of Ferguson, on the front lines of Baltimore. Whatever they call that Hotep shit, I don't see them niggas, bro. They not there. They be on YouTube having conscious debates about Egypt and stuff like that. But when it comes to the front lines, and maybe they don't want to be there. A lot of them feel like that type of protest is not where we need to be. That's a valid critique if you can make that critique accurately. But they not there. Black women are there. Mostly gay black women are there. Jewish people are there. There's woke white people there. A lot of people in the activist movement have interracial relationships. When you look at Kaepernick, you know what I'm saying, doing that, he's seen as a symbol. He was raised by white parents.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, his wife is Nessa. Nessa is Arab. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's looked at as the symbol, but he got his value system from a white family. Is his white family not woke? Are they not? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just you can't go by, because race is a social construct. It's not even biologically sound.
Right.
It was made up by Europeans. They needed to justify the shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's a social construct with very real consequences.
You bring up, oh man, this is a lot. Last week on my show, they were talking about who was on the front lines of these movements, and I had a young lady at Crazy Clarine. Versus a friend of mine at Mr. Rabio. I'm sure you're familiar with Miss Crazy Clarine.
No, I'm not.
She's on Twitter.
But I'll check her out.
And Mr. Rabio said that there are white people that are pushing the black. They're out there defending black people on the front lines.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
She was like, "What?"
I'd agree with that from my own eyes and what I've seen.
She was pushing the fact that the black woman is out there.
It's more. I would say the black woman takes the lead.
Okay.
On whether it's Black Lives Matter, Occupy, Ferguson. It's young sisters, young black women taking the lead on these movements.
Where are the black men?
There's black men there. There's black men there.
Where are they? Why aren't they there? Why aren't we able to say that they are equally pushing it as white men or as black women?
Black men are more likely to be harassed and murdered by police than black women are. That doesn't change the fact that black women still go through that, from Sandra Bland to Rakia Boyd to their standout examples. But the black male is going to be seen as an aggressor. You know what I'm saying? Quicker than the black woman is. It's the same reason why affirmative action has led to black women being the most educated group in the country. Black women are going to, the oppression they're going to face is going to be different than the oppression black men are going to face. And their response is going to be different. I don't think that's, for me to say it's black women taking the lead, that's not for me to say that black men ain't there, and that's not to say that somehow black women are smarter than black men or this and that. But
they're more active.
They're more active, and it's a nurturing thing. It's women have been socialized to be nurturers. In order for men to be nurturing, we have to tap into our female side, which, especially as black men, we're told to stay far away from that shit. Right. And so I think women are just, it's innate in women to get it more, to be more compassionate and caring, just from how they socialize. All people should be like that, but I think women get there faster.
I myself am one to participate in the protests. When it comes to the point where they say, if you do this, you're more likely to get arrested. They turn around, the leaders of the protest say, if you're willing to be arrested, that's what this is where we're going.
That's where the white allies got to step up.
Right.
That's where you see, like, Occupy and Ferguson, where you see white allies that I've seen with my own two eyes step in front and be like, we're going to take the lead on this piece. Right. Because we can get arrested and we probably won't get murdered.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We will. right?
Yeah.
And
like today on Twitter, somebody accused me. They was like, "Why are you so angry?" I'm like, "I'm not angry at all. Just because you see me curse somebody out, I have a smile on my face when I'm doing it." And an Asian sister jumped in and said, "Why shouldn't you be angry? If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Anger is good." And she was trying to have my back.
Right.
And I was like, with all due respect, my Asian sister, you have for you to get angry is a privilege. As a black man, I get angry about stuff, but I don't get angry over tweets.
Right.
You might see me using strong language that might be offensive, but it's not coming from a place of anger. I'm not allowed to be angry as a black man.
Right.
We got to watch our anger, because we get too angry, we get
Killed.
cracked in the head or killed or worse.
Right.
So it's like, black people have a right to righteous anger, but I try not to move from a place of anger, because automatically, that's where they automatically think of you coming from anyway.
When we talk about the protesting, we have a young man, J. Cole.
Who J. Cole was my inspiration to go to Ferguson.
Why so?
Partly because I was online talking about how people can't trust the media and how they got to get facts from the ground, and I'm tweeting away, and J. Cole called me like, "I'm on my way to Ferguson, and I want your advice on how I should operate and who I should talk to and this and that." And when Cole did that, being a young brother, I was like, if J. Cole can go, I can go. And I went 2 days later. Cole was there first.
That's fucking awesome.
Cole was there first, and Jeezy was there before I got there. Like, people always thank me for going, but I'm like, Cole called me, and then when I still go to St. Louis every once in a while, but like, they know who's real and who's not. They were very, very happy about Cole coming and touching the people. Yeah.
J. Cole just dropped an album. I think a lot of us on Twitter, we put it down. Oh, it's boring music. It's this, that, and me. I'm 43 years old. J. Cole's making the type of music that I listen to.
Cole dope.
J. Cole is making the type of music that I can pull something away from. I could play it in my house. I could play it in my car. It's something that it gets my mind
absolutely
going.
And then J. Cole has had 2 hit singles about relationships and women that he found a way to put my name in these records. You know, Kweli, Bun B. Like twice he did that with records that are not about no conscious shit.
Right.
But he found a way to still pay homage. You know what I'm saying?
If we were to look, there was an argument on my friend Mouse Jones' show. He has a show on BT, where they were comparing Mr. Kendrick to J. Cole lyrically. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like J. Cole is like Kane, Kendrick's like Rakim for this generation. Whereas they both conscious, but Kane was willing to deal with the women a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick does it every once in a while. Like Rakim had his Mahogany and his I'm Curious. He had a couple of those. Right. But Kendrick is more like, I'm doing the Black Panther thing. Right. And Cole, his singles are like about women and, you know, girls in LA and role model shit. Like, I feel like there are they're for this generation, they Kane and Rakim.
That is a lot to say.
Now, I don't, you know, Kane and Rakim were innovators in ways that they are not, and originals, and you know, they learn from this. Right. But yeah, a lot of this new generation, like, if all you got is Lil Pump and Lil Xan, then you know them niggas sound super brilliant.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You don't have to answer it. I don't want to put you in a bad place. If you had to put your money on one in the battle, Kendrick versus J. Cole, in a battle, if you had to, because they both want the same shit. They're different. They not scared of being themselves. They both lyricists. If you had to put your money on one, who would you put your money on?
I don't know.
Don't be scared, nigga.
I don't know, because I don't know either one of them to come from a battle culture. Right. So I don't know what their skills battle wise is. You know, when it comes to making hits, all I know is what they do. Like, J. Cole makes bigger hit singles than Kendrick.
You think so?
Yes, J. Cole, his singles.
Kendrick just got a Grammy. Well, no, Pulitzer Prize.
But that's not a hit single. That's like an academic. Okay. So that's the point. Like, J. Cole will make a record that'll have more club and radio play, but Kendrick will do something more heady and more academically sound. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of think we need to. This last album, this damn album, was damn good.
I would say when you look at DNA and Humble and the record with Rihanna, Kendrick started. Now he's at the level where he's making the singles, like, because Cole was hitting him with the singles, boom, boom, boom. Kendrick's now like, he's getting there. Right. He's figuring out the music to the point where I will say, like, I still go to the clubs a lot. and the trap runs the club. But you hearing 4 or 5 Kendrick records in the club.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll see at the end of the summer if J. Cole could get to that.
All right.
I haven't heard his new album.
Do you think that J. Cole makes club music?
He has
right, at this point right now?
I mean, you know,
he has.
Especially here on the West Coast, you know, he you know that got me
got me up all night.
Not that the one that said go ahead. That one is huge, and role models is huge. Cole. I mean the song with TLC, like Cole is talking to these women, man. Yeah. That's his lane. Yeah. That's what Kane was a God body 5% cat, right. But he was a smooth operator.
Smooth. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what Cole is like. He's smooth with these women.
The entire rap world views Talib Kweli as a lyricist. They say, yo, if you really pay attention to what he's saying, he's killing you damn near every bar. You agree?
I agree with that. I worked hard for that.
Who is to you, the lyricist that everybody looks up to, is the most dangerous MC right now?
Black Thought. Black Thought. That was my answer before he went on Flex too. Like, I'm not a bandwagon.
I mean, but has Black Thought been present right now? Like we say that he could come in and stick his head in and say, yo, listen, I'm still here, I'm still doing it.
I think when it comes to the fraternity MCs, as far as the skill of MCing, there is no better working MC than Black Thought. You know, I think it's hard for people to see that because people see him as a part of the Roots. Right. And they're not able to separate what he does from what the Roots do. And then the Roots have been a part of the culture, the mainstream culture, for being on Jimmy Fallon for so long that people even sometimes separate them from hip-hop. Right. And they're not looked at as, but there's no better working MC than Black Thought. And I know that because I do hip-hop for a living. If I was just an average consumer, I probably wouldn't know that. You know what I'm saying?
I remember listening to, I believe it was Stretch and Bobbito. Maybe it was Martin and Mayhem one night. Can't remember. It was both late night. You remember those shows? Late night back in the 90s. And the MCs used to come up there and rap on these shows. This is back when we didn't have so many platforms. So the late night radio shows were the ones that we would catch out new rap music. And the Roots came up there with a live band in the studio. And they went on a fucking rap tirade for about an hour of something I've never seen before and probably haven't seen since. It was the most amazing moment I've probably seen in hip-hop to this day. Right. It's just to think about how raw it was, how original it was.
Nah, man, the legendary Roots crew, man, you know, it's just a huge influence in my career, just personal-wise and artist inspiration-wise. Me and Black Thought born the same day. We talk about doing a project called October 3rd, doing a joint album together. That I feel like that's going to come to fruition at some point. Right. He's when it comes to lyricism, like it comes to the technique of rapping, ain't nobody fucking with Black Thought.
Talking about projects, Mos Def, Yasin Bey, his new name, Mos Def came out and said Talib Kweli, Madlib and I. Did I say it wrong?
No, you said it right. I just remembering the day he did that, I was like, it's news to me.
He said, look out for Black Star, we're coming back. Talib Kweli shortly after said, you could have called me first.
To be fair, the Black Star Madlib thing, Yasin has been talking about that for years. It wasn't just an out. Like, he's been saying we should do a whole project of Madlib. I've been like, oh yeah, I'm with it. Like, whatever. Like, sounds like a good idea. But we had a show in Denver, and then Madlib had a show the same night. I left because I had to go back to Brazil. And he went to see Madlib perform. And he was so enamored with the whole Madlib energy. He was on stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he just felt the vibe. And he just announced it. Right. And so now we got to catch up with that announcement. That's all. You know, it's not. But yeah, that's my brother. Madlib is my brother. We might go fuck with Madlib later tonight. That is very, very likely to happen.
I'm glad to hear that from you. Yeah. Because it has been, I want to say, 2002, 2003.
Right. This is the 20th anniversary this year of Black Star.
Black Star, 20th. Yeah. It's been 20 years.
20 years. So the plan is to try to drop it, like we dropped it September 29th, 20 years ago. And maybe we're trying to drop something this year, 20 years later.
Why has it taken you guys so long?
Visionaries. You know, if you look at the cover of Black Star, it says Mos Def and Kweli are Black Star.
Right.
It doesn't say Black Star.
Right.
The reason it says both our names because back then we were like, we're solo artists. So this Black Star thing is just supposed to be like a launching pad. Really, we're focused on our solo careers.
Right.
We want people to understand Mos Def, Kweli. That was the plan, and it worked out like gangbusters. You know, like, but it worked out too good. To the point where Black Star became this thing that people associate with this time and a feeling, and it's a great problem to have. That no matter what I do, I have albums that have both me and Yassine have solo albums that have outsold Black Star. But this shows you what cultural currency is and what cultural relevancy is, and proves that sales mean nothing. It means nothing. My album Beautiful Struggle is probably one of my most critiqued albums, but it's sold more than the Black Star album. But the Black Star album means so much more to the culture than my Beautiful Struggle album. So it's just us understanding the place in the culture, what it means to the people. It's not about record sales, it's about what it means.
Impact.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I remember I was talking to Taxstone. As a matter of fact, you and I had reached out to you to do an interview with Taxstone, and you guys have been talking.
Yeah.
It should have happened. It almost happened.
Yeah.
And the unfortunately circumstances occurred, which interrupted that from happening. When talking about impact with Taxstone, he told me, I was telling him, yo, I don't have no followers. You know, I ain't got enough followers. He said, yo, stop talking about fucking followers. Stop telling me about followers.
Right.
I got 85,000 or I got 60,000 followers, and somebody might have 1 million. They don't have the impact that I have at 60,000.
He's right about that.
You invited me to go on tour with you several times. You said, yo, come on. After I got home from prison, I reached out, we spoke, whatever, and I came and I met you at one of your concerts. I stood on stage with you. You actually brought me out on stage, and I watched thousands of people rehearse your music like it was a Bible. Bible scriptures. I just know you was Talib. I'm like, I know he raps, I know he's good. What does it feel like at this moment in life, just walking the streets, to have this level of stardom, to be Talib Kweli, to have Jay-Z respect you to a point and say, I wanted to be like him. Like, what does that feel like?
It feels like I'm in the right place at the right time, and it feels like I'm doing the right thing. But it's also a seductive thing. You want to be able to exceed people's expectations. If people are, one of the curses of people expecting you to be dope is if you keep coming consistently, they start to tune out. You know what I'm saying? It's like I read a review of my new, just dropped an album, Radio Silence. And the review was like, I don't remember the score they gave me, but the review was basically like, it's what I expected. The shit was dope. I expected it to be dope. It didn't really blow my mind because it was just as dope as I expected it to be. And it's a bad problem to have, but it's still a little bit of a problem because that's not what you want. I want people to be blown away every time they come to the stage, and it's just really on me to not go by other people's expectations, but to have my own, to compete with myself.
If you were to say anything that you've done wrong in your career, what would it be?
Well, hindsight is 20/20. Everything happens for a reason, and you try not to have any regrets. But I do sometimes think, what if I went independent earlier? You know what I'm saying? Like, I went completely independent, maybe 2010, 2011. But what if I went independent earlier? Like, I look at like what Run the Jewels is doing. They're changing the culture. Straight independent. The first album, I don't even think you could have bought it. Even what Chance the Rapper's doing right now, like, you know, but... And
Chance the Rapper has, a deal with iTunes?
Yeah, you can't buy a Chance the Rapper album. But he's hosted Saturday Night Live before. What rapper has hosted Saturday Night Live? This nigga did it without selling not one record. You know what I'm saying? I flew my daughter to Miami to see him at American Airlines Arena that he sold out without selling a record. That's mind-blowing to me, coming from the era of vinyl and CDs. Like, how do you get this fucking cultural movement and you're not even asking people to buy the shit? You know what I'm saying?
I think, didn't Cardi B host SNL?
She did. No, she didn't host. She performed. Drake hosted.
Talking about Cardi B, they saying that she signed a 360 deal. I am not rap historianologist. I can't tell you.
I like that word,
shit.
historianologist.
Like, you're not going to get me to talk about what's wrong with rap or this, that, and the other. A 360 deal, Cardi B, 2018, has created this whole mystique about herself. And is that something that you think was a wise idea to do?
I can't speak on her personal business. I know that for me, Talib Kweli, there is no 360 deal that you could put in front of me that would be worth signing. But I've already been famous before. 360 deal means that she has very little control over her flow of money. That means very little control over some artistic decisions. But she traded that off for a level of fame. You know what I'm saying? Whether she's going to be able to parlay this newfound fame that she has to cake later or be more independent later, I can't see. It might have made sense for how she's looking at business. That might have made sense in her world. It would never make sense for an artist like me. I can't judge what another artist does. And if an artist came to me and said, should I sign a 360 deal? I'd be like, hell no. I would never advise that.
Right.
I would never advise you give away your rights, that amount of rights. But maybe she didn't. Maybe those amount of rights don't matter to her. The reason I say that is because when they asked Cardi B, they said, you bit from Kodak Black. You sound like Migos. Are you stealing their style? She was like, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that's what I'm doing. That her mentality in this game, I don't have to dance no more. I can't relate to that. I ain't never had a strip. So I can't relate to what a stripper might have to do to get on.
Right.
She's making the moves that make sense for her. And from the outside perspective, it's paying off. So who am I to speak to whether or not that wasn't the right thing for her?
Right.
It's hopefully in the long, hopefully she's able to become so powerful that even if she is locked into a certain deal, she'll be able to get out that deal and still be famous and rich in Cardi B.
I mean, I think that she's almost there now.
Yeah,
like,
she's making money moves.
Sweetheart.
She's making money moves. You know what I'm saying?
I have a few questions to ask you. First, I'm going to ask you the most important moment in your career. What would you say was the most important moment in your hip-hop career?
Having children.
Why so?
I don't know if that's could be considered a career move, but it put the battery in my back and gave me the push to be like, it's now or never. I got to do this. When my son was born, it was like, yo, I just don't have no choice. It's gotta work. It's gotta work. I don't have a choice for it to not work. And then my daughter, coming a couple years later, it was like, it's really about the family. My children are my reward and my inspiration at the same time. To be able to make raps up in my head and say them and make money for it and come back and feed the family, that's like the greatest feeling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yo, that's fucking. I gotta take a second back and just say, yo, that's fucking dope. So.
Yeah.
Because I know that feeling.
Yeah.
To say, yo, I can't do nothing else but go get it at this moment. Now,
Yeah.
I got to.
Got to.
They're waiting for me. They don't have no choices. I got all the choices. I make a lot of moves. I make a lot of decisions now based on being a father.
Right.
More so than I've done anything else in life. And there's never been any other outside influence in life that has carried me besides my own maybe selfishness or whatever.
You know, my career took off when I found out that my girl was pregnant. That's when my career started working.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct correlation, like, to what I was putting in. I was already putting in the work creatively and artistically and making the relationships, but as far as hustling and make sure I could make a living for it, that became the focus.
I want to ask some other questions. So I have about 3 of them lined up. The most important rap song of all time. The most important rap song of all time. What would it be?
Well, that's subjective. Everyone has a different thing. But for me, it would probably be Follow the Leader of Rakim. That to me is the best written rap song. You know, he talks about traveling through the universe and planets are small, balls of clay. Like that to me was astral traveling. Like you're leaving your body. You're traveling through the space. You don't need to be an astronaut. You could just listen to Follow the Leader, and you could travel around the Milky Way. You know what I'm saying? As far as the eye can see, not even a satellite. He's become a satellite. Listen to that record. That showed me the power of rap, and that record is still ahead of its time. I haven't heard, even with Black Thought, I haven't heard nobody come close to that record in terms of that's the best lyrics ever written to me. Well, and so as a lyricist, that's the bar for me.
Right. That's saying a lot, because Rakim is widely held as one of the most illest lyricists of all time to this day. And so to that, I would say, if that was the most important rap song, if you were to look into your book, your hip hop history book, sitting from the sideline, being in the mix, whatever, however you choose to look at it, what would have been the most important moment in hip hop history to this day?
For my personal history?
From your personal. I know that's a hard one to go because you got to go through years and years.
Yeah, I think just maybe putting out that Black Star album for me, because we firmly planted our flag.
Now, I'm not saying necessarily to you. I'm talking about all widely around. What is something that stood out as something that needed to happen, period, in hip hop? Now, I'm not saying that Black Star album wasn't that. If you believe
That's my personal.
Right.
But in hip hop in general,
I know that's a hard one to think.
Lauryn Hill winning 8 Grammys for Miseducation.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I don't fuck with the Grammys like that. And the Grammys don't validate us. Nas don't have a Grammy. But the idea that this black woman who started out on the streets MCing, that Lauryn is an MC at this point. What she was, I don't think people really remember what that moment was like, but to see her with those 7, 8 Grammys, like to win it off of, there was a lot of singing on the album. She might have rapped on 2 or 3 songs, but she was a hip hop artist. And what she did was she showed the power of hip hop artists. She was acting, she was singing, she had all this musicianship on her album, but it all came from MCing. And I think Lauryn Hill, just what she gave to the culture in that moment was very important.
For one, I want to say to that, Lauryn Hill and rap and singing, it was music. It was a difference between just being a rapper. She made music out of rap. She made, like, that album was beauty.
Right.
It was she's talking about her child, talking about heartbreak, talking about love, talking about education, talking about history.
But that all comes from hip hop. When you see them tapes of her arguing with J. Rue in the street, and you know what I'm saying? Like, when you read Jay-Z book, Decoded, he keeps going back to this point. With all the fashion, he became a billionaire. He keeps going back to, it all comes from them rhymes. He said, everything that you see, it all really comes from my dedication to that rhyme. I think it's the same for Lauryn. Like, for whatever she became, it all starts with the being MC.
I'm going to ask you a hard question. I don't know if you're going to go.
Okay.
If you're gonna dive in.
Okay.
A lot of people are scared to dive in. I'm not saying that you're that one of those.
Okay.
What's the worst thing to happen ever in hip hop? What's the worst thing to happen to your baby, to hip hop itself in history?
I think the worst thing that happened to hip hop is the sort of a consolidation of the radio stations and the consolidation of the industry, to where you went from many black-owned labels that were regional and finding talent, to where now you have the 6 majors that own all media content. Everything has to go through one of these 6 majors. And you know, when Clear Channel and Arbitron and all that shit, like, it used to be traveling the country, you go to 50 different states and hear 50 different styles of hip hop. And then it got to the point where they all consolidated, and there was a playlist that goes out that says this is what we're playing. And it changed the game to whereas people started making assembly line rap and cookie cutter rap, and the goal of a new artist became being a label owner or getting on the radio as opposed to being a dope rapper.
Right.
And so I think that's when you saw the shift, like, and not to diss these artists, but like when like Laffy Taffy and all that was coming out, like, it's never the fault of the artist. It's not the fault of D4L or and these artists that made these records, but when the whole country has to make a record that works for an Atlanta strip club because that's what's dominating a certain market, that to me is death. You know.
So you're saying that I'm not saying Little John himself, but what happened with the Atlanta takeover, was that like a moment?
See, I can't even say it's because of Atlanta, because it's not the artist.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with what T.I. or Jeezy or Gucci Mane or D4L or Race, I don't even know how to say their names.
Yeah,
or Young Thug, or nothing wrong with, I mean, these guys are young, creative guys making something out of nothing. But, you know, every region has its time. There was a time when everyone had to sound like DJ Mustard. There was a time when everyone had to sound like Wu-Tang. There was a time when everyone had to sound like Luke. Atlanta has been holding it down for the last 20 years. Like, you gotta, if you're not in fucking Magic City, you're not cracking, you know? But that's sort of the idea that you have to make records for the radio or for the club. That's anti of what hip hop is about, and I think that's been problematic because, you know, you have these label heads who only go to that part. You know, they only go to, you know, they only want to sign someone that's already cracking in a club. You know, and
you gotta build your own brand now. You got the streets have to have you first before you come over here, and then we fuck with you.
That's not so much a problem because that could be organic as well. But you know what? To make it even more pinpointed, it's the money. The money. Yet, if you hear a hit single on the radio, someone's paying $200,000-$300,000 for that to happen. Excuse me. And that's been the music industry. It's not just hip hop.
Right.
That's the music business, but hip hop, when it first started, what was exciting about it, what the punk rock vibe of hip hop was, we didn't go through those parameters. Like, we didn't allow the outsiders or corporations to tell us what was hot, and that's what we're doing now.
Right.
And that's the problem. When you can't get on the radio unless you have 300,000, that's a problem.
Right. Okay, we have the Little Yachty's, the Little Durks, the Tekashi. Are you familiar with Tekashi? What do you think about the state of hip hop today, and where would you like to see it go?
It's really not for me to say. I'm the same age as you. We in our 40s, you know. Like, it's not hip hop is, you know. It's not for me to say what the youth should be doing. What I do wish, and this might say more about me than these artists, I wish that I was able to have a conversation about. I wish that the conversation was about the songs. I might have heard a Tekashi song once. I know all about who he got beef with, who he made up with, where he got in a fight at, what his new teeth look like. I know all about with these dudes, which girl they beat up, you know, who they dating. I know all this stuff. I don't know their music. That might speak to me. I might just be the fucking old dude, get off my lawn dude, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a hit song that these niggas got that's going off in the club that I don't know about yet. But I just wish that the conversation, what I see from my perspective, is the conversation is not about the music. And there's a certain raw punk rock energy to not being musically trained. I don't have a problem with a young dude who doesn't know what the OG hip hop shit sound like. Express yourself. It doesn't have to gel with my sensibilities. But what I see the conversation being about is never about the music.
Right.
That's the criticism I have. Like, can we get to talking about the music with these niggas?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that they're all starting to they're using social media and the radio. They're going to Charlotte. If you look at what Kanye just did, he went to Charlemagne, he went to Ebro, he went to TMZ. He's like, yo, I'm going to go to each and every one that I know has a platform right now, and I'm going to present my point right there. I think that's literally what Tekashi is doing. I think that's what all of them are doing. Joe Budden has this new thing going on with even Everyday Struggle. People might not have wanted to talk to Joe Budden, but they knew that that's where they had to go to sell their shit.
Joey was early. He was early. Like, if you remember, he was doing like live streams and all types of YouTube shit. He was early to figure out that my personality and the fucking shit I talk is a commodity, and I can sell this. I need a chick with a fat ass next to me, and I can sell this. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was early on it. But he pays more attention than most to the internet, to the gossip, and Joe's just tapped into all that stuff.
Right.
But again, with Joe Budden, I wish that I know Joey the rapper.
He's amazing.
I'm a fan of him as a rapper. I wish that more people respected him as an MC. Right. I wish that more people were into Consequence as the rapper rather than Consequence from Love and Hip Hop. Like, that's just me being a fan of these dudes. Like, I get it. You gotta get your bread wherever. Go get your bag. I can't stop nobody. But that culture, I feel like, moves us away from the art. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad Joe figured out his lane, But I don't be listening to that shit. I be waiting for the next mood music. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
That shit. Are you finished talking about other niggas' problems? Can we hear your record now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, well, in his defense, I think that Joe just hates the business of rap.
Yeah,
I think he's like you, and he's never been one to like having to suit a certain social, like, this is what you have to do to sell.
Right.
He's just been like, yo, I just want to rap.
Right.
And whoever fucks with my rap, that's who I'm rapping for.
Right.
And after a while, it became a point where it's like, that's not what's in no more. That's just not, it's just not working.
To his credit, he's made himself valuable in a different space so that he can rap for fun.
Right.
Like, it's no pressure with record sales. Like, if you want to drop a project, you can just drop a project.
Right. Just for us. Just for me.
Yeah.
I want to drop an album. This is for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Talib Kweli, coming to the end of the interview, looking towards, first of all, we're going to go out, have some drinks, we're going to go chill. Shit, you introduced me to Dave Chappelle today. I'm saying, like, yo, this is Dave Chappelle. I see Usher earlier. I just met Dave Chappelle. This is my life. Where is Talib Kweli in 5 years? What does he do? Is he rapping? Is he a business owner? Where do you take the brand Talib Kweli?
Well, my focus in the last few years is to move away from the music industry because I'm very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really competitive, and I feel like my competitive spirit has sustained me for years.
Right.
But the demographic is 15 to 35. I've been out that demographic for damn near 10 years now.
Right.
So it's like, am I for these records I roll out, am I trying to compete with Tekashi and all these dudes and am I trying to get on the radio?
But you have a fan base, though.
I do.
You're still on tour all the time.
Yeah. But it's like, I have to now focus more on that and becoming a legacy artist and building an industry around me rather than chasing where these industry niggas is. That's the focus. The focus is I got QualityClub.com. You fuck with me or you don't. You come to my shows or you don't. My focus is to be on a beach. I want to be on a beach somewhere selling shit from my phone. Not having to talk to nobody and only rapping when I feel like it.
Right.
That's where I want to be.
If you were to give any advice to young MCs coming up as to where to go, the right thing to do, what would it be?
Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your craft. Don't let nobody who's never done what you do tell you that you're doing it wrong. Don't trust the industry. Trust your gut instinct. Do your research. Follow the trends. Like, study the trends. Be aware of them, but don't follow them. Right. Study them so that you know how to move, how to navigate around the trends. You know what I'm saying?
This interview for me has been coming for so long. I've been trying to, link with you. I was going to fly to Milwaukee. I was going to fly to... You said you're going to Brazil. I was like, how much is the flight to Brazil? And I'm finally here.
Shout out to Nico Is. We just dropped the video today that we filmed in Brazil. Okay. That's an artist on my label. Javoti Media is me, Nico Is, Kay Valentine, Jessica Kiermore, Corey Mo. But the Nico Is video came out today, and we're excited about that.
Also, your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter.
About to drop.
Shout out to Deani Ashe. We're going to drop her stuff, her first EP next week.
Okay. And her @name on social media?
Deani Ashe.
How do we spell that?
DANAIESHE.
And she's coming out with it. And I asked you. I said, all right.
Is it dope?
Yeah. Like, you say, my daughter's coming out.
I discourage my kids from being in music because I know how hard it is. My daughter did this on her own. I didn't help her with it. She played it for me and I was blown away. So I'm going to help her get it out there a little bit. But then she's on her own. Hopefully, I don't even want it really associated with me. I want it to perform on its own.
Right. Well, we're looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to follow her today and see what's going on over there. I really appreciate this, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out here, man. You didn't have to do this. It makes me feel special that you took the trip. You know what I'm saying?
I booked that shit yesterday. I was like, yo, I'm on my motherfucking way, but goddamn it, my allergies was kicking my ass. New York is kissing my ass right now.
Oh yeah, it's allergy season.
Yeah, I got the fuck out of here, and I don't think LA is like that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't really know what else to say.
We should do this again. When the next time I got something to roll out, so we can so I can get some props off of it too.
Yeah, I was thinking you. I was like, yo, bro, can you come on my show so I can make some money off of your celebrity status, please?
But this feels like a discussion that just started for me.
Right,
because we have a personal connection.
Right.
Like, this is not just an interview. This feels like a series.
Right.
You know
Well, when you have something to say and you want to talk about something, you hit me up and I'll bring my motherfucking mics and my ass and we'll come out here and we'll have that conversation. Answer that phone.
Yeah.
We out of here.
Agony.
So shameless.